I might even be okay with that if I could guarantee the LLMs were gonna be like anti-racist, something like that. Like, you know what? To be fair, give me 30 seconds for this bit. Imagine a world where instead of having to terrorize your black friend by asking them, "What's the big idea if I say it with a soft A?" And that's what I said I'd do with the drone money if they ever get it to me. You see what I mean?
Of course. Honestly, it's brilliant.
You know. Oh, hey, you know, we'll talk later. Hey, didn't see you there. That's Tayo. This is the empathy hour where I get to talk to people who I find cooler, funnier, smarter, friendly, more open than me, and I try to feel what they're feeling, so I may also exercise my empathy muscle. Wow, and also maybe
Your
my
empathy
mouth
muscle.
muscles, my empathy muscles. Turn to Elmer Fudd. Today I'm here with friend of the channel, friend in real life, uh,
Yes, we hang
Dr.
out.
Fatima. Like actually, like IRL. Like, I know
Whenever I'm in the DMV, I always see Tayo.
whenever you're on this hemisphere, which you can't even count on that these days.
Wait,
Or I guess you're not
yeah.
even on a different hemisphere, but time zone.
Who knows what hemisphere I'm on? I'm not gonna say.
Exactly. That's why I'm like,
My
you don't
hemisphere
even
is
know.
my secret.
That's why we have that. Not sponsored by Proton VPN. Um, but
I do be using
uh,
that. No, I don't want to show
actually, exactly.
for
Don't
anyone.
don't until they send that check. But honestly, like, how are you? You are, even though we're not gonna dox your location. Like, by like your outfit, it seems like it's not as cold as it is in our area. It last episode, I don't know if you watched it, but we had a very, and this ended up being like a whole conversation in the comment section too, talking about the weird temperate climate in the like the northeast seaboard, like in the
Hmm.
DMV Chicago area. It can be 80 degrees one day and literally snowing the next.
Yeah,
uh
it's
but
intense.
like, yeah,
Like they're all like, "Oh, we love having four seasons," but I would rather just have it be nice all the time.
I'm not gonna hold you. You know how we say like everybody came from Africa? Guess what? In
It's true.
Africa, there's like two seasons, bro. There was hot,
There's rain
there was
season, there's
wet.
no rain season.
I think naturally that's all we
Easy
needed.
peasy.
When y'all started, just like with Marvel, when y'all started trying to add too many sequels, y'all trying to do too many remakes, that's when shit got all out of whack. But but
Weather
that's to
is meant to
say,
be a binary.
whether whether is a whether is a human concept. But what we like to do when we start the show, as we have started every show with, and I really enjoy the comment responses that we got from last episode's audience comment, audience question of the week. But we're all about exercising our empathy muscles and exercising our reflection muscles here, which I think is something that we're gonna talk real deep in today. But my question for you, Fatima, and for the rest of our audience, to answer in the comments below, is what feels impossible today that would shock you if you shock you to accomplish in a year? What feels impossible today that would shock you to accomplish in a year?
When you say shock me, does that mean like I wouldn't expect it or I would be very impressed if it happened?
Hmm.
Because I don't know, the things I'm thinking of are things I intend on achieving. So,
Tight, tight. Honestly, but I think
like,
that
even though they feel impossible,
I think it
like,
is. Yeah, it,
like
it,
clearly
it
I have
is
something in my head.
something.
Can I just say what I'm thinking?
Yeah, but please just say what you're thinking. Like,
Right.
you
Um,
know what the question is.
Speaking Spanish comfortably.
True.
Cause like I've made enough progress since starting to learn that I can like I feel what progress feels like and that it happens. And I'm like, ah, yes, I am once again on a path to being able to like speak a language easily. But it's so fucking hard. Like, it's the beginning stages are just so frustrating and so embarrassing and so like slow, and it's so like difficult to know that you're getting better, but you just have to keep doing it anyways. But I know I'm going to keep working on it, and a year from now I'm going to speak in a way that would shock current me. I know it.
No, I
But
love
it
that.
does
That's a great
feel
answer.
impossible right now because I'm
Hmm.
very bad.
No, I love. I yeah, I love that. I love that answer to the question because it does highlight the ability to be shocked, like from a year from now, shocked at like what future you was able to do, but also be able to still rationalize, be like, but I still think like I'm putting in the effort to get to this long term state,
Yeah.
to this long term, and so I still think you can shock and awe, like that's more the awe, right? You would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
in awe of yourself, maybe. Oops, okay.
Yes, I will be.
Um,
I will be.
wow, that I
What's
believe
yours?
that we will win. Okay, see, mine feels like I was going back and forth on even like what question I was gonna ask, and now I feel weird about my answer. But in the spirit of emotional transparency and empathy, I'm gonna do my albeit embarrassing one.
Do
Um,
it.
a thing that feels impossible today that would shock me if I accomplished it in a year would would be if I had a partner.
Mm.
More not
Yeah, that
necessarily
makes
because
sense.
of me, right? Like it's just
Just because of the
because
state of things.
I'm noticing the state of things for the first time. I was in a long term relationship for a while, and I've been out of
I
it
remember.
for like
A year?
a year and a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
a year, honestly, yeah. Which is like, at this point, I'm kind of now hitting the point where I'm like, okay, maybe it is time to start again. I think I remember talking to you before you said I should have been out there. And I
I
was like, I
mean,
don't even know, because it was like my last one was really long, and so part of it was just like I just didn't know if I had the muscle anymore to like do what it
oh, it's
takes
still
to be
there.
uh I mean, like I talk a lot. You want to assume it's the same, but then now that I tapped in to what the dating market or the dating milieu is, I was
Yeah.
like,
The
dang,
dating
did I
milieu.
really? Right? I don't know, bro. The dating canon. I don't know. Like,
No, it works. It
did I
works.
miss my chance in
Academic
college
as
to lock
fuck,
this
but
shit down? Because like this shit works so
no,
much
don't say
differently
that.
now, and that's what I'm like
People
it's
still be
embarrassing to even
getting
say,
married
but
though. Like people
that
still be getting in relationships. It doesn't matter how bad it gets. People are still like it's still happening.
that's what I have to think. That is what I have to think. But it's also kind of like I don't want to use Hinge. I used Hinge last time. I got
Then
no
don't
problem with
use it.
Hinge. Like, but
Go
I
somewhere
don't
in
want to
real
use
life.
right. I wanna meet somebody at a coffee shop, at a record store. But I don't but I do think TikTok, and I'm not even blaming TikTok, but I'm blaming TikTok as like a concept, has ruined the idea of the authentic meet cute. Like,
Hmm.
and I hate the way this makes me sound sometimes, but it never occurred to me till very recently because I now had to think about going back into this space that like, what does it look for me to carry a bell hooks book?
I feel
you
like it's
know,
not as bad for you
you
because you're
know.
black, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody refer to a black guy as a performative male.
You know what? I'm glad for your algorithm. I'm glad. Let's keep it that way. Unfortunately, I
Is
also
that
am
a
Nigerian, so I
thing?
have I have that against me.
Hmm.
Like, don't
I do
Google
feel like
Nigerian
that does
demons.
tend you a
I,
little bit towards.
Actually, I'm Dominican. I'm Dominican until we figure out that marketing issue. But anyway, yeah, but also at the same time, I still affirm your sentiment of like I still vaguely like if I pop out, we'll date this. This is recorded April 9th. It's coming out like I think April 13th, and we're gonna come
Oh,
back a year to us both speaking fluent Spanish, and
yeah.
I too would not be shocked if I was like, voy a la biblioteca con mi novia, you know,
con tu novia, qué lindos.
Local quien vide es, I don't know, crazy how life is, but
Mm, es verdad.
because life is funny, but it's just for the first time, and I know the way that I'm even gonna come off is like a bunch of you guys in the comments are gonna be like, bro, like your skin water is wet and the sky is blue, and yeah, I'll be honest, I was looking at y'all when I was partnering up, being like, damn, hate to be y'all.
Yeah,
And I
know the
thought y'all would,
feeling.
to be honest, I thought y'all would figure. I thought it was pandemic brain. I thought y'all would figure it out by the time I was back on the market. But nah, y'all decided to. I guess really to even pivot off that, because what I'm talking about is having a period of like self reflection, of of wondering about society, or having anxiety about society. And I think a lot of people also have similar reactions when they're talking about AI, specifically like AI chatbots, right? Would you agree that like anxiety and uh, like self reflection might be a little, but anxiety kind of uh, is often associated with AI these days?
Yes, in many ways, I guess. Both in the AI anxiety people have about like the kind of very realistic fears about it, but also like everybody be using AI for therapy, and everyone's not everyone's anxious, but I certainly know of a lot of people both in real life and in like comments in response to stuff I've put out about the topic who I guess don't have AI anxiety but use AI for their anxiety. So I guess in a couple different ways what you're saying is true.
Okay, that's real. That's real. Um, are were
I mean,
sentiments like that? Were sentiments like that the things that kind of drove you to make a video about AI? Because you recently made a really great video essay, um,
thank you.
titled, you're welcome, titled "How to Anti AI Better."
Yeah.
Um, and I want to congratulate you on two things before we start the conversation. One, congrats on joining the Flower Mike Squad. We see
Oh,
you.
thank you.
We
This is
appreciate.
actually, I don't know if it's the exact same. I mean, I used a couple different flowers in the video, but it is from the same bunch, which is why it is dead at this point. But also, I feel like I keep dead flowers along around for a long time. So this is in honor of that, which is it an homage to you? It was certainly inspired by you because I see so many people use like I'm new to the lav mic crew, and I've seen so many different items people use, and like your flower is so elegant.
I
It's
appreciate
so
that.
nice.
We'll take the homage.
I feel like
Um,
I put a spin on it by using actual flowers. I think you always use the like the iridescent
yeah,
shiny flowers,
I
which
do.
has such a look.
Uh, I mean, for the same reason that like that you're experiencing right now is why I use mine. One, I do like it narratively, you know,
Yeah,
because you are the more vegan, you are the more
the more vegan.
I mean, like, listen,
Veganism exists
statistically,
on a
I'll be honest
spectrum,
with you.
unlike the
Uh,
weather, which is binary.
but also, I love the flower as the real life representation of your psyche
Mm,
from the beginning of the shoot to from the beginning of the video essay process to the end. Like that's just
yeah.
my own fanfic of like how long that flower's been around you. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was, you know, after watching the first minute of your video, which I'm going to show right here, so you guys know that I'm not taking anything out of context.
Let me be clear. I'm not here to argue that using AI isn't problematic or that it can bring about the revolution or any version of AI is fine, actually.
The real first question that I have is, why did you decide to argue that AI is not problematic and or that it can bring out the revolution? I thought it was very brave that's what you explicitly set out to do.
Yeah. Because I like starting shit apparently. No. Um so for clarification, what Tayo has said is in fact the opposite of
Do
the
I need tone
first
indicators
one of the first.
slash s?
I mean like
To
maybe.
be
I don't,
fair,
'cause I don't know.
no. To be fair, no. I'm gonna play the clip. so the
Oh, play, feel free to play the
right
clip.
the right no no
Oh, you're gonna
like
play it later.
I'm
You're gonna
yeah
add it
yeah yeah
later.
yeah in
Okay.
post, yeah, I feel like
See,
bringing it up now,
here's
but
why I felt the need to clarify, because I feel like those are, I'm not saying those are takes I would make, but I feel like they're points you could argue if you wanted to, like
in
it doesn't
super
feel like an
bad
outlandish
faith.
thing for, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I think it's like true. I've seen people make those arguments, so it doesn't feel like something that is completely outside the realm of possibility. Maybe it's, I don't know what expectations there are for the opinions of your guest on this program specifically. Okay. As if there aren't black people that love AI. Like, come on.
No, facts. Yeah, yeah, no, no. So I was trying to get my thing to autofocus, but
Oh,
no, 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 no. I think that's no. I 100% agree with you, and that's why I'm like, I thought that your video was the kind of conversation I've been hoping to have
yeah.
about AI now, like given where we are now, which is why I was so excited to have
Yeah.
you on the show. Not only because you're a friend and like we have a certain rapport about us, but also I think due to where we both stand or like both our experiences, which we'll get into with using AI, that like I do want to have like without simplifying it like a bit of a more grown up conversation about how we as um the non-owner class really basically should talk about
Yeah.
this technology that fundamentally is changing the way that we relate to one another,
Yeah.
but to that point, right, and like what you're saying is that
Wait,
yeah,
can I
even though
clarify
this is
one thing
jokes.
really fast?
No, go for it.
Or is it interrupting you too much, your flow?
uh Now you got it 100%.
We got it. I'm sorry, I have to commit. Just to clarify, when Tayo said the sentence that I argued that AI is not problematic and nor that it can bring about the revolution, when I actually said the opposite. That doesn't mean that I said AI is problematic and it cannot bring about the revolution. I said that those aren't things I'm talking about. And like those aren't the arguments that I'm trying to make in saying something that some people will construe as being positive about AI. So that makes I just felt like it was kind of ambiguous.
No, no,
What
no.
I
I think that totally
looked
makes sense,
after.
and
Oh, but you're gonna show the clip, of course.
that's really what I was trying to
Fair,
say.
fair, fair.
They'll laugh,
Okay.
but what I was gonna say is I appreciate your sincerity because I understand what you're saying. That like there is a way. Like it's not like people aren't making arguments, both strong arguments for and against AI, in our coming from our own progressive leftist camp. So really, one of the first questions I think I asked, it not only in my head, but I definitely vocalized it not as a question, but as a like unsolicited advice. But I'm gonna rephrase the question here. What did what brought you to think that this type of video, making a hey AI, can we have a serious conversation about how we talk and how we use about AI that includes maybe understanding it by using it so that we can use it more properly, a harm reduction ethics towards AI. What made you think that this video was worth the reputational risk? Because if I'm correct, you actually have had like direct experience with talking about AI and like blowback from audiences. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, mine wasn't that bad. Like, the TLDR is that Michael Burns interviewed me about a time I used ChatGPT to help legally defend myself against a landlord illegally trying to evict me. And his inclusion of that in a video and being like, huh, this is a kind of complicates my feelings about people using AI and how I'm like thinking about them. And people, I mean, really, people dragged Michael. I got like a little bit of the blowback in the comments, and that there was like a handful of like uncharitable comments towards me. I maybe lost like a single Patreon subscriber, maybe a few YouTube subscribers, but not like any kind of real meaningful financial impact or anything like that. And I didn't get any like I had to go to Michael's video to see comments about me. It wasn't like reaching me in any other. I didn't even know that this was going on until 2 weeks after it happened because I was busy with other stuff. And like internet drama is just not at the top of my list, even when it's about me, apparently.
Right.
Um, but like, yeah, no, I was very surprised by, because I was surprised that I got any pushback on that. I was surprised by how affected Michael was, because I think Michael lost more viewers because it was
Mhm.
on his platform, right? That's where people who was following him got disappointed in him or whatever. Um, but I also like talked to other people who that had happened recently to afterwards, because Michael mentioned something about Alex Avila experiencing that, and maybe they talked. I don't remember, but I reached out to Alex to be like, hey, can I ask you about this experience? Because people really fucking dragged him. Like, um, he had a terrible experience with how people reacted to what I think was a very, very solid video exploring some aspects of the way people talk about AI and the hype machine, and like nuance about our critiques of it, and like why it matters to be nuanced about your critiques of it, even from, from this position of generally being against it, right? um and I was just very surprised by like how the discourse was playing out, like as somebody who like hates companies like OpenAI and Sam Altman, and is so concerned about like all of these like different kinds of effects that the AI industry as it's currently unfolding is like having on society. um like it just felt so reactionary to me, and I don't think, I wonder in saying this if I just sound like any person who was like shifted in their a political opinion because they got defensive over something. But I don't think I've ever seen something leftists slash liberals get so reactionary about.
Like the word like Luddite started getting thrown around, which I think was like mad oversimplified and like misunderstands like what the Luddites were like
Yeah,
talking
people use
about.
Luddite wrong.
Right, and like I like that you did that, and you even called that out in the video at some point too,
Yeah.
in a way
New
that like reawakened the memory of like people actually explaining what the Luddites were, in
Yeah.
like a push class, or maybe something like that, where it
Mhm.
wasn't simply that the Luddites were angry that, oh, this new invention was taking over their jobs. No, like they were sensible people just like you are. What they realize automatically, because worker unions were worker solidarity was stronger back then, they're like, yo, I know my boss is going to use this technology to bullshit me even more. I know every time we get some sort of advancement, my boss isn't gonna trickle down those profits down to me. We already know how this works, and
Yeah.
that's why they were mad. And
Yeah.
sometimes I do feel like it's a little like, I won't say it's not devious on the people that we don't know it, right? I think it's devious on like whatever power structure does not um want that moral to proliferate, if that makes sense, right? That like that's not the lesson that we take from the Luddites. Instead, the Luddites
Mhm.
became just people that like are reactionary against technology because
Yeah.
tech is
Yeah.
scary.
Right. Like
Um
the lesson of the
mhm.
Luddites is organize against your employer, not technology is bad. Which,
Exactly.
it's a little tricky because like, so the context of me bringing that up in the video was in the introduction. I was just kind of outlining what I wasn't going to talk about, because this is just so big of a topic, and if you want to be useful at all, you really do have to be extremely specific. Uh, and I was saying that I'm not going to talk about like the aspect of job replacement by AI. Not to say that's not a huge thing that deserves a lot of, talking about it, because it is affecting so many people already and will continue to even more. But I was saying, I kind of want to talk more about our relation, like individual people's relationship with the technology, and like the job stuff is in my eyes like a labor issue, not anything specific about technology. Um, and I referenced the Luddites, and I'm like, they had an issue with the employers, not the tech. The issue isn't the tech. Um, and that's actually why I wanted to be specific about your joke about me saying AI is not problematic, because I think there is a take to be made that AI isn't problematic, like in the terms of like the algorithms that are used to do whatever tasks it is that we have put under the umbrella of AI, which is many, many, many different kinds of algorithms, right? Um, like, I don't necessarily think that that is inherently problematic. But then it's also easy to kind of slide into, like, a lot of people when they hear my criticisms of whatever aspect of science or technology on my channel, they're like, well, science is just a tool. The problem isn't science. The problem is the people using the tool. And it's like, well, yeah, you kind of got to talk about the tool to understand the ways in which people misuse it, and just kind of dismissing the conversation with being like, oh, technology is just tools, and so, like,
That's
that
actually
conversation
like in a
is
roundabout way, kind of like super weird because you end up sort of like moralizing the whole issue and saying like, it's not the gun that's bad. Bad
right,
people touch guns and then suddenly they kill.
right, and, like, in a
Instead
way
of
that's
talking about
true
the
and in a
tool.
way that doesn't matter.
Right, but it like, yeah, exactly. Like, but you're missing some fundamental things about the tool itself that like if we attacked that, we could probably improve.
Right.
Yeah, we can improve outcomes.
Yes.
It's almost like harm reduction works, but spoilers.
We'll
Um,
get
Speaking about so getting into the scope of what the video is, because you're right, it's so big. This is a technology that touches so much of our lives. I think Hank Green in a recent video put it very well that like the human thing is communication, right? That
yeah.
what like separates us from the rest of
Mhm.
the
I
animal
watched this. Yeah,
kingdoms, right? Like we're very good at communicating in ways that other organisms aren't. And so yeah, when like new forms or new paradigm shifts in communication technology happen, yeah, it's gonna impact us, and we're gonna recognize it a bit more.
What I had said was, like, why I was inspired to make the video, because of all the reactionariness I felt like I was seeing, that I think is counterproductive, given all the stuff we're going to talk about. But as to why I think it was worth the reputational risk specifically, I'll be honest, there's a small part of me that, because the only other time I was really worried about my reputational risk was when I made my Palestine video. And I was scared the Zionists were going to drag me and dox me and make my life horrible. And overwhelmingly, that's not what happened. And in fact, that is the best performing video on my channel to date by a significant margin. And I even thought that I'd get blacklisted in academia for making it, and I did not. I, in fact, got offers unsolicited for positions I align with very well because of my work, right? Um, yeah, no, I was surprised that that's how all of it went. So I guess I um, felt a little bit more confident because I had been really scared of a reputational risk before. And I think because I handled it well, like, people received it well for the most part. Um, and I will admit that there's also a part of me that's like, if people give me shit about it, the video will do well. And,
Listen,
like, I believe
views
in
is
my
views.
word. So maybe I'm just willing to take the hit in terms of, like, getting a pile of internet abuse in order for this to get in front of many people.
No, I think that's real.
Like,
Uh,
I'm pretty thick skinned. I've never had a real internet mob, but I don't know. I feel like I can handle it. No, that's
I
a
mean,
ridiculous
like,
one to say,
I think
maybe.
the most important
That's a
thing
ridiculous one to say.
to
I don't know how bad it gets.
well, we're knock on wood. We're not wishing anything undue. But the most important thing I heard out of that was one, you trusted your words, and two, you trusted your words, which I think is in a scarcity right now. In I don't know if we call what we do like journalism or like whatever we call like media, right? But like just the idea of saying like, hey, what's the reputational risk when like the thing that I'm saying aligns with my reputation? Like I stake my reputation on what I'm saying because I'm just speaking what I really feel, and like that's all we can really ask for, right? Uh, and then also the other underlying part of that is that also this is all the internet and like what these people don't even leave outside, like not what can they do, but also internet beef is also just it's not a real thing. That's not you can't cash that in the bank. And I think to kick off, I kind of want to start with in the same way you do in your video, since it's concerned with the more interpersonal way that we are interfacing with it, and the way that we talk about it with each other, what are some of the most common ways that people are using AIs today? I think a lot of people think that it's like chatbots via chat gpt, but is there like, what are people going to AI to actually help with?
I mean, if I want to approach the question like from data, ChatGPT is the most used LLM, and about 50% of ChatGPT use is like asking it questions, as opposed to like having it write something for you or do other tasks. Like it's like seeking advice and seeking information. Um, Yeah, or like, using it as like a therapist is probably, I think, the of the types of things people spend a lot of time asking it is the biggest category, as opposed to like seeking information, like objective knowledge about something. I'm pretty sure therapy is like the biggest of the asking chunks.
That's so interesting to me, because
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, because at first
like
I thought it was the Google thing, because I was like, even though I don't use, I hate the AI Google thing when it pops up, but
yeah.
mhm.
Oh, like the one literally in Google, you mean? Like
Yeah,
embedded? I
yeah,
mean, I feel
like,
like I'm not counting that because you didn't seek it out. Like
no,
you have
yeah,
to
yeah,
go out
right.
of your way to not experience that if you use, Chrome, which most people, I don't know if it's most people, but plenty of people use, right?
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I think I asked Jordan Herod, who's like an AI expert PhD student who does a lot of public education about AI. I asked her like what power users were, and I'm pretty sure she said the two categories are like people who use AI like extensively in their work and like productivity stuff, or people who use it as like a conversation therapy companion just because of the number of hours they'll end up using it for. I think people who use it more as like, oh, I need to know this piece of information, let me ask ChatGPT, aren't on it as continuously as somebody who uses it for like having a human feeling conversation.
No, yeah, that makes sense. I definitely would count myself in the. So yeah, it sounds like I'll count myself in that first part of power users. Like I use it a lot in my job because I work in finance. I use it a lot. You like trying to organize data, and like trying to like find out maybe like legal codes and things like that. So they're like, so that's mostly how I know it, right? And then
Yeah.
you're saying there's this other side that's more consumer based, and I guess like the part the a part I'm talking about is what people are usually in the news talking about, when it's like, oh, it's the business, the these are business I'm operating as a business customer,
Right.
but then there's
Yeah, yeah.
other
I'm
side of
talking
people
about
that are
like
like,
normal ass people. Like
right, that are
I
like just
I
like, hey, I I'm feeling anxious right now. Do you know
yeah.
why? I'm not gonna lie. I want to ask what are the ramifications, because but that seems disingenuous, because I'm like, I feel like there's only um uh weird ramifications that come from asking AI, like, or like using it as a therapist. But like, what are what are some of the dangers that I guess like are worth talking about from using a chat bot to do personal reflection like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of what is like dangerous to the individual using a chatbot like this. So like one feature of chatbots is that they hallucinate, right? They don't necessarily say correct information. They say correct sounding information. And sometimes the information is correct. Perhaps even oftentimes the information is correct. But unless you already know the information it's giving you, you can't really, from looking at the information it produces, determine whether or not it is correct. Which is why anybody using ChatGPT or whatever LLM to generate any kind of information should fact check. Like that should never be your last. Like if you were seeking the answer to a question, that should never be where it ends for sure. Um, and there's kind of like levels to that. So it can, I don't know, if you, an example I used in the video is like, if you're like, is this plant poisonous or is this a healthy thing for me to eat? It can tell you the wrong thing, and you could die if you listen to it, right? Like that can happen quite easily.
The hemlock
Um,
example was so crazy to me because
yeah,
like
it was
that's
so
like
insane.
funny
Like
in
it's
the
really
scariest
good at
way.
sounding insistent. Yeah,
Right, because it's like imagine. I feel like I seen this in a meme someplace, and I'm not gonna be able to find it. But it was like, but just imagine you being like, "You sure it's not hemlock?" and being like, "Nah, I'm positive it's not hemlock." And then
yeah.
you eat it, and then you're
And
dead.
then
And then it's like, "Oh, actually, you're so right. I looked and I didn't check this thing. It is hemlock. Would you like to know more about hemlock natural
yeah,
habitat
yeah, yeah.
and its biology?" And I'm like, I mean
That's
that
fucked
like
up.
that's fucked up, but that's also funny as
That's
fuck. But
fucked
that's
up.
also what we're
Yeah.
like, what I can't
Right.
help but feel
It's fucked
like
up how funny that is.
the pessimist in me can't help but feel like we're going towards, especially when people feel comfortable enough to be using AI like as a personal confidant or therapist. And I don't even mean that in a judgmental way because I have my own personal anecdote with it, right? Where like I very early on, I definitely have used uh like uh specifically chat GPT as an LLM when I was like in utter distress in like a friend conflict. When like I really like I felt like I really didn't know what to do, and I didn't know whether or not like I was the bad guy or not, or like how I was supposed to go about. I wanted to know not only how to make myself feel better, but I specifically did want to know like, okay, what was the right answer to rebuild like this relationship? And because I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about like these details, I was like, let me go with the bot. And like, to be honest, we was working it out. We were working it out, but and it's something that I love that you touched on in your video. I did notice after a while that even when I didn't want it to, it always tried to bring it back around to like comforting me, or like making it, or like very sneakily being like, oh, you don't need to go talk to this person now, or like wait off on it, like don't like keep to yourself because you don't want to. It basically wanted me to be very asocial. I sort of felt like being like I right, I was in the right. I was in the right, so I need to wait for this person to come back to me to solve the problem, which might have made me feel good in the short term, and might have even been helpful in the short term if it's like 24 hours, if tensions were like really really high. But the idea of saying like no, just wait until be reactive instead of proactive in trying to mend a relationship, that could have like unintentionally worsened the situation and made me more antisocial. um I know I just talked a lot
I can
about
just
that.
start talking
Right,
in
yeah, yeah,
response.
yeah.
Let
Mm.
me do that. So what you're describing is like the next level of hallucination, which is like sycophancy, right? Because LLMs also tell you what you want to hear and affirm you, like across the board. They're 50 to 90% more likely to affirm you in whatever it is you say than a human being. And this can be like, again, just with like incorrect information. If you like say, like, I think the example I used from a paper is like, if you type in something about LeBron James and golf, it'll say that he won whatever golf masters. And it's like, you just talked about those two things in a sentence. That doesn't mean they have anything to do with each other, but ChatGPT assumes that because you talked about them in the same sentence, that they do have something to do with each other, and that that's what you're seeking. And so that's what it tells you, right? So that's sycophancy, that it gives you what it thinks you want. Um, but it doesn't just do that for information, it does that for your feelings, right? This is what some researchers in a paper I cite in the video called social sycophancy, that it affirms not just like facts that might may or may not be incorrect that you're saying, but your feelings, your sense of self, your impression of how a situation went, your reactions to another person, right? It'll tell you that you are right, and you're not the bad person in this situation, and the other person really did something wrong to you, and they should be apologizing, and there
And
are
that
ways
feels
to kind of.
good. That feels
That
great
feels
because I
good,
knew it the whole time. I knew I
right?
was
Yeah,
right. I knew I
it's
was
going to
never the
validate you.
bad guy.
If you want a therapist who will always tell you that you're not the problem. ChatGPT is a great one. However, the unfortunately reality of things is that we all can be the problem. And the outcome that these researchers found about social sycophancy is that when people go to LLMs to get help about interpersonal relationships, it will tend towards recommending the kind of antisocial option, in the sense that it won't recommend things like you apologizing or you taking responsibility or you changing your behavior, because you're fine, problem somewhere else. And that's not to say there's nothing you could say to an LLM that wouldn't make it say that you should do something differently, but on average this is how an LLM behaves relative to a human. And so if we're comparing going and talking to a therapist or a friend, or going and asking an LLM, whatever the LLM has said in whatever the context is, it is significantly more likely to be suggesting to you to go in a direction that is not conducive for the maintenance of social relationships.
And that kind of makes sense when you say it, when you describe what social frequency is, because the best way to keep me happy would be to give me like an answer that does gesture towards like the betterment of my problem, but also in the most passive way possible, which like is usually going to
Waiting
require
for
like,
other people to fix it.
exactly, sitting with myself.
Yeah.
Like journaling is good, but
Yeah.
like you
That's how I fell
it
into using
hardly.
ChatGPT as a therapist when it happened, which I don't do anymore
Hmm.
for sure. But I talk about it in the video. Is at first I was like, I'm basically just journaling, but it's just also reflecting to me. But that
Which
is not
like,
as
and
straightforward
I
as it
remember
seems.
like the first time I gave it, one time I just gave it like a YouTube video because I was feeling down in the dumps about like a video being trash, and I would just like, tell me what you know about me through this video, and like, I'm not gonna hold you, it said the most beautiful generic shit ever. It was like, oh my god, you didn't tell me. It knew how to play on the fact that like I said I have a small YouTube channel, and then it said, oh, what do you mean? This has more than blah blah blah. I I said, why can't? But like, and I want to be very real. I really do doubt that like the majority of people hear that and be like, man, this thing knows me. This thing feels so good. I honestly do feel like more people like absorb that and say, "Wow, I really wish a real person said this to me." You
Yeah,
know?
100%. It's making me think of, I had a friend who, when he was writing his thesis, he used, this was years ago, he used ChatGPT to like edit chunks of it. And at the end, it kind of just like affirmed him and like talked about what an excellent thesis this was and how original his work was and blah blah blah. And he was having a hard time in grad school with like getting his research out because of like petty political bullshit. And he cried when ChatGPT told him he did a good job, like because he hadn't had from everybody else, he'd been getting the opposite message for months and years of working on this huge thing, and the chatbot that edited it affirmed him to the point of tears for a man, which is higher than if it was a woman. He's not somebody who
Like
cried much at
that's
that time, I think.
so complicated to me because I'm like,
I know.
there's so much there. Like,
And I also
and
think it
I
worth,
don't know who to talk towards.
right. I think it also worth throwing up about the, what is it, hallucinations and sycophancy. I've explained hallucinations are inherent to llm's work, how llms work. Sycophancy is not. Like, you can't make an llm that doesn't hallucinate, but you can program how sycophantic your llm is. And in fact, different LLMs and different models of particular, like different models of ChatGPT, right? Like GPT-4 versus GPT-5. GPT-4 was way more sycophantic. And then they rolled out GPT-5 and people freaked the fuck out.
Bring
Like
it
the people
back.
who are really
Bring
in
back
it,
my
the people
waifu.
who like, exactly, that have like, companions, or in a less literal way use it as companionship or therapy or what, like they're, like Reddit was in a disarray that day. Like, and they actually like OpenAI rolled it back and made it more sycophantic. So that is a thing that you can control for. And AI companies leverage that to keep people addicted to their product, right? Like
Mm,
it is not unlike social media where it is bad for you in a way that is directly beneficial for them if you keep using it, and you would benefit from using it less because of this negative impact. But they don't want you to because theoretically eventually one day it will make them money.
true. Well, so I'm hearing you talk about like the idea that yeah, like through sycophancy, and I think I touched on this earlier before about like yeah, the gambling nature of like tech, or the gambling profit motive that big tech has decided to go down. I guess not even decided, like they've just been that way since they decided to have an advertiser model. Um,
Yeah.
it does make you ask if the point is that they want me to be using it more and
Yeah.
more.
Of,
I'm very
okay.
interested in, or
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was just very interested in like this idea of like this correlation you found between AI literacy, so like knowing about the AI and the AI usage. Because when I hear a question like that, off top, I would assume like basically the people that use AI the most like are gonna, or if you have high AI literacy, like it's probably because you're some sort of power user, or like you're just all about AI. But it
Mhm.
sounds like when you looked into it, it was kind of more complicated than that.
Yeah. It's actually interesting because now that the video's out and I've gotten like a lot of comments, um, excuse me, sorry. One comment I got a lot of was some kind of person who works in tech or works in AI and is literally an expert on it, who is extremely averse to using it as a direct result of their expertise in it. Like people just being like, yeah, that is exactly right. I am like the extreme end of that graph. Like I must have gotten at least a dozen of those. And
Yeah, that is that like because like I feel like I mean I wonder. I guess I'm imagining it's like some sort of Dunning Kruger type thing, where like the more you use it is
Mhm.
like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, or like maybe the more incredulous you become. But yeah,
Yeah,
talk
I
to me about
mean,
it.
so what they found in the paper that I referenced that you referenced me referencing or whatever. Um, so they basically did a series of studies in different contexts. So some of it was like looking at a population of grad students, some of it was comparing statistics across different countries, some of it was like more like personal survey based. But all of their studies kind of looked at some dimension of how basically if you graph how much AI literacy someone has against how receptive they are to using it, it's anti-correlated. The higher AI literacy is, whether it's in an individual student or a person from whatever population or this country as a group, wherever you have higher literacy, you have lower receptivity, meaning lower allowing it into one's life,
Can we
using
take a
it,
step
being okay with
back?
it. Shoot, shoot,
Sorry.
sure.
Can we take a step back and even define AI literacy? Is AI literacy like
Yeah.
knowing the code, or is it just knowing like
I
about
think
different
there are like different
models?
aspects of it. Like understanding, I think, like what AI, and again, AI refers to a million different things. So it's like context dependent. Bear that in mind when I say AI as if it's one thing. Like how AI works, like kind of a little bit of some amount of what's going on behind the hood, how it works in terms of like your use of it, like what it can do well, what it can't do well, what its like shortcomings are. I would even say like what the context of its creation is. Like I think understanding how like everything about the data centers that are required um, to keep them operating, or just like the information that has to come from somewhere in order to train them, that is often like based on stolen
Right.
material,
Privacy
like
implications. Yeah.
where it comes from, how it kind of came about. But yeah, and I would say like at the top of the list maybe is like what it can and can't do. And um part of the research was kind of like trying to disentangle that a little bit. And the like synopsis of their reasoning is that if you don't know about AI and what it is and how it works and all these things, then it just seems like magic if you use it for the first time. If you like don't know anything about computers, you're just like a, I don't know, like my mom or something, right? And you open up ChatGPT and ask a question, you're gonna be like, this is magic. Like this
That's how
literally
my
is
that's
exactly like,
how my parents are, and like it's
yeah,
kind of scary
yeah,
because they'll be like, "Oh no, just go to ChatGPT and then ask them about your symptoms." My mom's a nurse, and I'm
yeah,
like, "No, no, facts, mom, facts, mom." And I have to do all the extra work of being like, I know my mom is really
yeah,
saying, check the stuff, know what you're talking about, but
sure,
then like I hear her do the same thing for real estate, and I'm like,
yeah.
"But mommy, you don't know real estate." You don't know what it's talking about. You don't know about stocks. So what are
Yeah. Oh,
we
I love how you
and what
talk to your mom.
and like I'm not gonna lie, I don't call her mommy. That was for the love of the bit. But
Yeah.
I wonder, hey, you were the same person who slapped my hands like for having like Facebook at the table in 2008. It's 2024, 2026. Jesus, it's 2026, and now you the person on Facebook and WhatsApp that I'm
Right.
like, yo, mom, we eating.
Yeah.
You asking ChatGPT about what's going on in the news.
Yeah.
Anyway, I sometimes I get that it's weird, right? And I think it's maybe
Wait, what's
I
weird
think I no, because I think I cut you off from like whatever point you were making before.
about it
Because
seeming like magic?
yeah. The part I was
Yeah.
saying it's weird about is like in this case with AI, since it's so new, like I think we realized that we have to baby our parents, like baby the older
Oh,
generation
yeah.
about a lot of the new stuff that's come out.
Absolutely.
And but like this one is one of the more glaring things because even we ourselves are only adolescent in our
Yeah.
grasp of it, not even understanding.
Oh, yeah.
But like it's
Actually, can I just tell a funny anecdote?
I would love it.
It's short. I had my first moment of being too old to know how to use technology as compared to someone much younger than you when my niece, who's like 8, 9, she's very young. She's less than 10. Do I? Yeah, she's definitely less than 10. She's like 8. I'm a good aunt. But I was playing something for her on Spotify on my phone, and she's like, "Add this to the queue," and I was gonna do it the long way, and she's like, you can just slide it to the side to add something to queue." Did you know that? My mind was fucking blown, and I've never had a child teach me how to use technology before, especially for one that I use every day.
You know what? Because I love you, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna ask chat. Not even chat. It's not live.
Comments.
I'm gonna ask comments in the comment below. Let me know. Do you know? Did you know that you could slide? That you could slide left to Q? I'm
Is
pretty
it
sure
left or
slide left
right?
to Q. Actually, I'm not even gonna open the screen. I'm just gonna do the natural. It's slide right. It's slide right. Wait, no. It's slide left. It's slide left. Let me
It's
know.
slide right.
Actually,
It's slide right.
fuck. Okay. So I overthought it myself. Okay, yeah. Let me know if you knew like to slide right to Q. Someone make that like a phrase, and we'll just all say that in the comments.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Everyone got to learn. Everyone has to learn something someday. That's the
Yeah.
more important thing
No.
about
It's like a
everything, right?
point you cross at a certain age when you're like old enough to start not knowing technology. And I have
I'm
hit it.
I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. Music. I'm not ready to admit that I'm there musically. I'm just gonna keep saying the music's bad. I'm
Oh
sorry to you
no, I'm not
guys.
there yet
I'm so sorry.
musically. I
Right?
listen to
You
Pink
guys are just
Panthers. I have young tastes.
okay. Does that still count? Because I feel like technically, I think she might be a millennial. Like
Oh, don't tell me that.
my thing that's holding me up is that fucking Overkill song. I don't know who the hell that girl is. Da, 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 da. At least I might be overkill. At least I get to spend the night.
I don't
What
think I
kind
know
of
that one.
girl
I'm
am
not
I?
that young.
Yeah, it
You're
might be
you're younger than
overkill. At
me.
least I am a little bit younger than you, so I got more years. Even though we are about, I think when this comes out, I mean it depends. We'll see. We'll see what the ADG tax does. But if this comes out on time, it'll be the day before my birthday, in which I will be, uh, you know, I can no longer be drafted. Let's say that. Let's say
Nice.
that.
Also, Pink
And
Pantheress is definitely Gen Z. She was born in 2001.
oh my fucking lord! Never
I
mind. I'm
know.
sorry. All right,
25-year-olds are Gen Z now. Ugh, that reminds
I'm
me of
more
a
than saying.
story I have to tell you off recording later.
You know, I'm leaving notes because we're having a gossip trail right now. All right. Anyway,
Anyways.
all all this like talking about this, right? Even me thinking about my parents. The reason why I said it was weird was obviously
Right, right,
because of
right.
reverse nations and everything,
Right.
right?
AI
But it
seeming like
is
it's
like
magic.
is the A like is the true magic of AI is that the A in AI might be for like antisocial because the thing I keep noticing a lot, and you kind of do make this point in the video as well, that the really fear I think the latent fear we all feel with AI is that it is taking otherwise the therapy is a good example, right? Otherwise human to human interactions and literally not only in its own direction but like through the interface itself is making those things more antisocial. Even if we take some, I do want to use one other example to make it not just therapy, but I will say this one that challenges me: restaurant recommendations, right? Like to a certain extent, I think out of habit, I still when I want to look up stuff to go do or when I want to go like find a new restaurant, I'm still going to Google first, and I'm still doing the Google search to go to the Yelp or go to the site that had a, that I assume had a human rank 5 places in DC to go eat tonight. Like there's honestly there's already a world where some of those clips or some of those articles are AI generated, but I could have just easily gone to, and I've tried this before, to Claude, to ChatGPT, and been like, hey, here's where I am, here's my budget, please give me 5 places. But that takes out the ability, at least one, for me to see a human made playlist. Or in a more ideal world, right? It's I go ask my friends who are in DC or who I know go out. Say like, hey, I kind of want to go do something different. You got any recommendations? It's like removing that social glue. And I guess I wonder how you felt about that.
It kind of I feel like it takes me in a different direction than something I still want to say about the magic that is also relevant to what you're saying. And uh that is about like the socialness that people find so impressive about it, that is so makes it so easy to replace like actual social interactions. uh, that is the context in which the anti-correlation between literacy and receptivity is the highest. Like one of the studies, I didn't talk about this in the video, so this is why I want to mention it, actually disentangled like the different tasks people use it for and how this correlation like holds in the different tasks. And
Mm,
for more objective technical things, imagine like having it like write a CV or make a do your taxes or some aspect of them or like things like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Do a
The
white
the
paper.
anti
Yeah,
correlation was significantly lower. It was way, way, way higher when it came to subjective like human things like
that's so
therapy or having a
interesting.
personal conversation or companionship. It's those contexts, like the ones where you're replacing like interpersonal relationships as opposed to like hiring a, I don't know, what's your job, a tax person or
Not a tax
whatever.
person, accountant. We'll keep it there.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, right. Like the tasks where you would like need some kind of relationship with the person besides I'm just paying you
Mm.
um to do like work for me. Those are where the AI is magic because I don't understand it and so I'm going to trust it. That's where
Mm,
that's the
mm-hmm,
highest.
mm-hmm. That says a
It is
lot,
most
right?
pronounced. Yeah.
Right, because that's an indication of people wanting to outsource like the trust work that comes with like seeking out another expert or like seeking out like just another community member to like have them tell them something that they don't know, but it feels, you know, it feels safer when you're in control of the asking, and for and because you don't know how the black box works, which kind of now we can get back into the AI literacy versus AI usage thing, makes it feel like, oh, when I ask my question to the magic box and it gives me an answer, well, it's my box, I asked it, why would it lie to me?
Yeah. And I think it also, that difference has something to do with how difficult people who don't know much about technology perceive it being to have technology do something, like having it do an objective task, like doing making a spreadsheet of something. It's like, okay, you know, computers are calculators. That's just a really fancy calculator or whatever, as opposed to it's talking to me like my friend does, which is the thing that it does that makes people be like, oh, is this like actual intelligence? Have I like discovered a sentient, you know, like there's something about the newness of technology that can at least do an imitation of these interpersonal things that make it more shocking and surprising and kind of like compelling in a way.
Right. I'm stealing this quote from some person, but I know for a fact someone said that technology, like sufficiently, that works
Is it
sufficiently enough
yeah,
is ah is you can't tell it apart from
indistinguishable,
actor. Indistinguishable. Wow. Listen, bro.
is
I
not
got big
able to be
lips, large
distinguished
tongue.
from magic.
Is not able to be distinguished from magic. Indistinguishable. We'll get that. We'll get that one day. And like that's facts because listen, can you explain Wi-Fi? Okay, listen, the both of us can explain Wi-Fi, but we might have looked into it. Most people can't explain Wi-Fi. I can't explain tap to pay. I'll be honest with you. I can't explain. I don't know, bro. Like, but that shit
Yeah,
work, right? Explain that to a Victorian child.
right.
Um, but and you know what? And honestly, I'm kind of gonna take it there. You said your magic point. Are you're cool with
I
your
think I'm
magic
done
point?
with that point. I think I've
Oh,
exhausted it.
okay. Okay. Cause I want to take it. I want to take the conversation to a place because for me, selfishly, I think the real reason why I wanted this conversation is to talk more about what I want to get into next, which
Uh-huh.
is how do we talk to each other about this technology as people that want equity and liberation in the world without shame and also to get better outcomes, right?
Yeah.
Uh, because the way that we keep talking about it, even the example we just went through, it has me thinking like, is AI's guns? Is AI's like guns for the left? And like, right, like, and I say that, and I know like you laugh, so I know you immediately get it. If I gotta break it down for like two or three people here, like, I don't want us to do the thing we did with guns, and even shout out to when I had foreign on the show, what we did with even workout culture. I don't want us to do that with AI, right? This idea of like, because oftentimes people that are really really anti-gun, uh, that are just sort of there just for the vibe, are anti-gun because they don't understand how guns work. Like guns are scary. They are killing machines. I
But
am also
also,
anti-guns. I'm pro gun
you
reform.
should know how to use one.
Exactly, right? So they balk at the idea of you learning how to use one because why would I learn how to use the killing thing that I hate? And I'm like,
Right.
okay, dude, I hear what you're saying, but
Because it
also like
exists
I
in the
trust
world.
you, right? I trust me, man. The person also shooting you with the gun also realized guns kill people. I promise you, he had the same amount of facts that you have, right? But like, there's this want and I think you might, and if you already covered this in the video, I would love for you to take this from me. But like, it's this idea. I think maybe it's even Alex that brought it up of like wanting the reality to be a certain way, and like by practicing like what you would wish the reality to be, you think like, oh, that's the way. If we all just did that, then
Yeah.
everything would be as it is. So like
Yeah.
by you laughing, I assume that you agree with me that like
Oh,
the well, I'm going to call it the nebulous left. I don't think there's necessarily like this like left right position per se, but let's
yeah.
say from our position, like the left is treating AI like guns, and we would it's a mistake to do that again, right? Because
Yeah.
we understanding the technology enables something really important, a term that you spend a good chunk of I think like the third part of the video covering, um, this term called harm reduction.
Hmm.
Do you mind explaining? Actually, I don't even want you like before you even explain. Not to be on my Hank Green, isn't it like
Please.
when you were explaining what harm reduction was, or how we found out about it? Is it the discovery of harm reduction just a wonderful feat of science, or like, or is it actually
Yeah.
giving primal laziness,
I
or
mean,
is it actually
I
just
don't know if
complicated
it's like
laziness?
science that figured out that it would work. Science has validated that it does work, but I think it was more like creative and sympathetic and like engaged people who wanted to make a change in a bad situation around them, uh,
It was like
that
behavioral science,
gave
right?
us
I guess
harm
if I had to classify
reduction,
it.
I
Sociology,
guess.
I don't know.
But I mean, like, I don't think it was necessary. I mean, I actually don't know enough. Like, I don't know that it was
Mm.
necessarily like a bunch of research. I mean,
No,
I
no, no.
can get
Yeah,
into
yeah.
it,
Not that's not necessarily what I'm
especially
saying.
because
Yeah, yeah.
like its genesis is around like the AIDS epidemic, and that was an era that was actually quite significantly characterized by citizen science because
Hmm.
somebody had to, learn about how to make, like, for example, the queer community safer in a time when that community, not to say they aren't anymore, was extremely disenfranchised by, institutions that produce research on things like health and safety. This feels too relevant to my next video. I'm not going to start talking about it, but stay tuned. I'm going to talk about this shit again. Um, yeah, so it's not
Mhm.
necessarily science. I don't want to give science the credit of harm reduction, is what I'm saying.
Okay, no, yeah, yeah. Okay, I feel I will hear you on that, and I will leave this in as necessary pushback. I think I meant it in the way of like,
Isn't it cool
hey,
that
no,
people figured that out?
right, yeah, yeah. Isn't it cool that we that
Isn't
humans
human
figure that out,
creativity
right?
and empathy and
Because I
intelligence
do
awesome?
think, right, and I want you to talk more about especially like both what we found out through using it for people that were addicted to like intravenous drug use, but also how we can start like how that can also apply to other social practices as well, because
Yeah,
it does feel very counterintuitive to me, even though like I already knew what harm reduction was in the drug capacity, but I think I do want to have this baseline conversation on
yeah. Of like
this
what is
idea of
harm
meeting
reduction?
people where they are, which I think that tagline is beautiful. So I'll give
Yeah,
you the stage on that.
of course. So harm reduction is an idea that comes out of like California in the 80s when HIV/AIDS was kind of in full effect. And one of the means of transmission of HIV was, intravenous drug use. And not to say intravenous drug use on its own isn't a very harmful thing, obviously, but uh, using intravenous drugs and also spreading HIV is worse. And so, in an effort to reduce the transmission of the virus, people started coming up with programs to make the use of intravenous drugs less likely to result in transmission. So, for example, needle exchange programs where you can like bring your dirty needles and they'll give you clean needles. It feels kind of ridiculous being like, here, drug user, take these needles that the government paid for and is providing for you, right? Like, that is going to shock people. But the truth of the matter is that programs like that make it such that the person who was going to do drugs anyways is using a clean needle and not one they got from someone else or one that they already used or one that they and that's like a very, very specific, that's kind of like the platonic ideal of an example of harm reduction. Maybe I don't know if it's exactly the first thing, but that's kind of one of the like really illustrative examples of doing something as ridiculous sounding as making it easier for you people to use drugs like heroin makes people safer in that it doesn't transmit HIV, which is a really
Right.
really big win, right?
And the thing I love
um
about that story is like is that it does reorient you to what we're actually trying to solve.
right,
What's the actual end states we're looking for? Which is why some solutions may seem counterintuitive when you're not thinking about, okay, what is quantifiably solving what is quantifiably getting us the best outcomes, which is people
yeah,
not dying from any type, like not dying from less things that were caused by drug use.
yeah,
Bringing that over to the applications that we can see in talking about how we want to what's that word? Let's say safely use AI, like which some people are gonna come at me right now and say like whether or not that's possible, but let's have that conversation anyway, right? Like
right. But
how
it's
can we
not a
use those same
question.
Hmm?
I don't even want to say it's a question of how to use AI safely. It is like harm reduction is always how to make it more safe than it already is. It is like a
Mm-hmm.
relative thing,
Lovely.
right? Like I'm
Yeah.
not going to try to claim there is a fine use of AI, but it could always be doing or like risking less harm.
Wondering, in the spirit of like this harm reduction ethos, right? Bringing it over to how can we make AI, how can we make AI use less harmful? What are some of the ideas you've come across, or maybe some of your own personal ideas about how we can go about reducing, or at least explaining to people how they can reduce their AI harm without reducing their humanity in the process. In the video, in about like the third part, you have this section on shame where you get to talk to Devin Price, I believe, who shout out Devin Price, and how shame is not a good motivating factor in people. Uh, and I found that super interesting because there I've had this conversation before. Maybe even I don't know if I had this conversation with you, but this idea of guilt versus shame, and it may have just been a case of semantics. But um, I've been having this conversation ever since I saw an essay from, or I saw a video essay from Cheyenne Lynn, who talked about a guilt culture versus a shame culture, and how like guilt, like Catholic guilt, is very individualized, and like that is not motivating because it causes you to be interior. It called like when you feel guilty, you feel like yourself is broken. Like it's hard to absolving guilt is harder because it's like an individual thing. It's a sin.
Yeah.
Whereas
Like it's
like
about you
shame,
and not just when you're doing.
right? Well, shame, like in my bias is that I come from West African culture. That's how I was raised. Like, is a more society is still bad. I'm not shame is a virtue type, not virtue signaling shame, but shame is more effective because it is more external. You bring shame to a source. You bring shame to like your family or your reputation, but it also in that articulation has like a way. It has a solution, right? There's theoretically a way to unshame yourself by doing something that the society seems as positive. Uh,
Mhm.
and by the time I got through your guys' section, I was like, you know, if I replace it with guilt, I think we are basically saying the same thing. I was wondering if you guys had thought about that, or like, because there is a case. I do feel like there's a case to be made about like, you know, we got to bring a
When
little bit of
framework.
shaming back, like a
I
little bit of
mean,
shaming. I don't know about AI, but like a little bit of shaming back with
yeah.
some of y'all, because like
So
y'all
this
are
is
moving kind of.
interesting because I did get a lot of comments on people kind of like disagreeing with the whole premise that shame doesn't work. And
Mm.
this is one of many things that I talked to Devin about, which talking to Devin was like career dream come true, like
Devin, come on
dream
the show,
interview. It was
please. I'm
awesome.
nice. I'm funny.
Yeah, he was really cool and just like really, really made the that part of the video like I feel like especially I don't know, it helped it land.
Mm.
Especially because I learned about things like harm reduction in large part from his writing, like years ago, right?
Mm.
So I'm so glad I got to talk to him. But something that we talked about in our conversation that is on my Patreon um, is when shame does work. Because I had also
Mm.
seen him talk about wherever he talks about things online, like he's very active in a couple different spaces. Um, sit like exceptions to what he's generally saying about shame in his book and how political shame not only doesn't work, it is counterproductive because of the way it alienates people and makes people withdraw and hide whatever problematic behavior that ends up making it more dangerous, a la harm reduction. Like things being out in the open is safe, things being hidden generally isn't. Um, and like he talks about, for example, shaming politicians about their stances on Palestine, like, or shaming bigots for their bigoted views. Like, shaming people is what you do when you want them to go away, I think was like the heart of it. Like when you want to actually isolate or alienate people because they're in positions of power, wielding that power inappropriately, rather than like your neighbor who you have to live with, you know, or like your family member who you like have this whole relationship with, or stuff like this. So there are like political functions to shame, but and like I would say in the AI conversation, shaming like the companies and like people like Sam Altman and Elon Musk. Like I'm not saying we should be nice to them, because we do kind of want them to go away. We do want them to be alienated. Like that would be helpful for society if Elon Musk was like more ostracized than he is.
You bring up this idea of like individual divestment versus, I think it's like collective. Is it collective divestment or collective education? I guess, right. It's maybe you were talking to Jordan where it's like, yeah, you can yourself remove yourself from the system, but it's like it's the recycling
It's
thing all
still
over again,
happening without you.
right?
Like
And therefore, as a collective, and I could just be making up this part. Like, it is better to be educated so that like we 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 can get more good impacts that way.
yeah, I mean, something I think that you might have been bringing this point up earlier and we didn't quite address it, about something like maybe Alex had said in his video about like there is a segment of kind of the anti-AA crowd that is responding to it by not engaging with it, which implicitly concedes like the potential to affect how it's going to play out, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Sit on
Like by
sidelines.
exactly, like to say, well, this is bad, so I'm not going to use it. And I'm not saying that that's how every person who's against AI acts, like that they just don't use it, and they're not also, for example, doing like meaningful organizing work. Like you can do both of those things. You can do meaningful organizing work and just not use it yourself. But just not engaging with it doesn't make it go away, right? Like that ship has sailed.
Wait. I'm
Not to
sorry.
say,
Hold their hand and say that again. Hold their hands while you say this. Let's
well,
just
I say
wait.
what? All of this?
Go. Yeah, there we go.
Like that it's here?
Nah.
Are we
Yeah, like there we go. Like not using the AI will not
not
make it
using
go.
AI doesn't make it go away.
I'm so
I'm
sorry.
sorry. And that's not even to say, a lot of people I think respond to me saying that with being like, well, you're just being too fatalistic. Like just because it's here now doesn't mean it is going to be here forever. And like you can even point to stuff like, I don't know, chlorofluorocarbons. That was like a dangerous thing in the world, and then we regulated it into non-existence. Like we put that scientific genie back in its bottle, and people are like, you could still do that with AI, and you're assuming that we can't. And it's like, I'm not assuming that we can't. I'm just assuming that at this moment we haven't, and we have to contend with this moment, because like maybe we can change the direction that it's going to go. Certainly not if there aren't people with like good politics and values involved in how it is
On the inside, yeah.
manifesting in the world, which doesn't happen if everybody who's against it just disengages completely. Um, but oh, I kind of lost my momentum there. Um, I felt like I
Nah,
was
nah,
like
you
a
nah
line in
you
the next.
you were cooking. Maybe I can send you with another alley oop because like the two big last questions that I have that I kind of want to talk about are: is AI a signal that we need to bring inconvenience back, that we're yearning for inconvenience, especially in our like interpersonal relationships? I think this is me still circling around like this idea of what AI is giving to us, right? Like if you strip it down to bare tax, more than just it being a technology that like brings us knowledge or like talks to you, what it's doing is like it's removing the friction from an otherwise like human, like social, more socialized human experience. And I but it, that's a very victim based way of looking at it, when the opposite way you could say is like, hey, people feel like they can't like reach out and ask other, like feel they don't have connections to ask people these questions, right? Like they can't ask people about like whether or not they should put glue on pizza, because low key, even though maybe you should know that, but low key they ain't got no friends that cook because groceries is expensive. Like not, apartments aren't coming with stoves anymore. You know, like so. I'm not saying like you have an answer to that. I'm not like to solve the issue, but I am wondering if like in taking maybe more effective or healthier perspectives on what exactly we're anxious about or angry about, even in some cases, about AI, um, does it come back to something like that? That like it's truly AI is another one of those canaries in the coal mines crying out that like we're gasping, hungry for connection, but not sure where to get it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the first thing that's coming to mind is like an interaction I had with someone recently who I'd say on the scale of people in my life using or not using AI, this person is like quite on the side of using it a lot, including like for kind of therapy uses, specifically for like a situation they're in right now that is not ideal, and that I hope they move on from, but they kind of gotta make that move for themselves, as I understand many situations to be. And I've been kind of telling them like, you can talk to me about this. Come over, let's like chat. And I am so acutely aware of how burdensome they feel for talking to me, being like, "Oh wow, thank you so much for like inviting me. Like I don't want to like just vent on you, like you're busy." Like all these things where it's like this person is seeking support from, ChatGPT or whatever, for something that they need some kind of like they need to be talking to someone about it for sure, because they're scared that talking to a person would be inconveniencing for them, right? Like I don't think they're even in this, like it might be different in different cases. I think in some cases people talk to LLMs because they're scared of judgment from other people, and they want to like talk to somebody who's not a person because you can say anything to a computer, right? That's a whole different
That be I might even be okay with that if if I could guarantee the LLMs were gonna be like anti-racist, something like that. Like you know what? To be fair, give me 30 seconds for this bit. Imagine a world where instead of
thing.
having to terrorize your black friend by asking them, "What's the big idea if I say it with a soft A?" You could put that prompt into the chat. You could say, "Chat, pretend your name is my friend Tyrese. I want you to respond. I want to play out a situation with you in which I say this word, and I want you to react the way that he would and explain why he's reacting that way." If the
Yeah,
LLM could distinctly do all that microaggression work for us, hey,
yeah.
you
That's like the
might,
most revolutionary use case I've yet heard.
but they'll never do it. They'll never do it. They
Yeah,
they
because
they they, they want to
the
make
current
deep fakes
LLMs would
instead.
just affirm the problematic outcome because they're
They're like,
racist. I feel like that's like not even a thing. That's certainly not a thing I talked about in my AI video, but I feel like that's like we're so past AI being racist that it's not even a thing people talk about anymore. Like, not to say it's
like
not still. I just feel like we were talking
no,
about it a couple of years ago more, and now it's like there's also 100 other things. So that's still very much a problem. It's huge, huge problem. But like, it's not a problem I almost ever hear people talking about, like bias in AI.
literally last episode we had Pillboy on. Go y'all go check that out if you haven't seen that. But good response so far on it. Because you talk about they're still AI cloning black people. That is unfortunately still happening. And this concept of like of algocracy and using AI to like expedite and automate like the um basically race capitalism, right? Like to make sure it's very easy to uh, represent these fictions that don't exist because you can't actually find a single black mother complaining about SNAP benefits at CVS. So you got to go
Mhm.
AI instead. I'm taking us
Oh
off what we were
yeah,
talking about because we're
I
talking
have
about
been seeing some of that, like that picture that the White House put out of that black woman where they made her like
oh
hysterical instead of just
Jesus,
normal.
Jesus
That
Christ.
was fucked up.
But getting back to, I mean, that's also another inconvenient truth. But these truths of inconvenience,
Oh yeah,
because
the
if
inconvenience.
yeah, because and I'll let you get back onto your point. Because if I hear what you're sort of like circling towards is like this idea of, here's the scary part. I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say this because I also feel implicated in what I'm going to say. And I think that's why we don't talk about friendship enough, because I don't think any of us these days feels like a good enough friend. And so like trying to talk about like what we feel friendship should be it feels like to me like I'm opening myself up to be like, well, do I do that, right? Or like, am I, or like, is that what my real standard of friendship is, right? But I think people have forgotten, they have forgotten what standards they should hold for friendship, right? They either believe like what they
Like
want
how
from a
everybody
friendship is
wants
too
to
high,
cancel on everybody all the time.
and think that that's cool, and I should like still be okay with that forever because, oh, that's just the way your brain works, or like your, or throw this therapy speak here. Like, no,
Yeah.
there's like, once again,
I'm
shaming in certain
overstimulated, so I'm not
aspects
going to follow
work,
through on my commitments or something like that.
which like, I need you to have. Can we do this right now? You know what? We're like an hour 10 and no one ever makes it this far. I need y'all to remember that sometimes lying is courteous. What I mean by this is that sometimes a show of your friendship is like using the brain power it takes to politely decline, knowing you only have but so many, because
Yeah.
we want to see you. Like, I want
Yeah.
to hang out. So yeah, you can like, where the I got low energy right now came from was because we were over indexed. Like, too many
Mhm.
people were toughing it out. So you're okay 1 out of 3 times being like, hey bro, I just don't got it in me. Cause I get that. But that's not your primary, right? Like, even if that's your primary, I need you to care enough about the relationship to be like, man, I gotta walk a
Mhm.
dog that I just got. Cause also, guess what? I don't know how to explain this, but like, me understanding.
Wait, you got a dog?
No, exactly, I didn't. I didn't, and
Oh.
I didn't get a dog either, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, so like in this very funny example, you understand I'm saying that like I can't do it right now because of something,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And like, in a way, we can understand each other.
Yeah.
But also, if I give you like a real weird example, a real weird excuse, like, oh, I gotta go run some laps in the cemetery. Hey, guess what? Now you know I'm asking for support, even though I can't ask for support. Here's where I'm trying to land this plane. I know I wasted 5 minutes of this bit, and y'all like, what the fuck is he talking about? What I'm landing the plane to say is that,
Mhm.
because what I feel like we were circling towards is like this idea of people wanting to express they have support and not
Yeah.
knowing, like, basically, and this could be the man in me for sure, but like unsure about what is worthy of expressing support needs, right? Like,
Yeah.
what can I depend on my friends for
Yeah.
realistically without feeling like I'm being like a burden in a way that I would agree.
It's
That's why
interesting.
everybody puts everything on into partners, right? They want a partner to do all
Yeah.
that stuff, not because they think one person should do all that, but because the contract of a romantic relationship already
Is everything.
stipulates a sort of, right, stipulates sort of emotional tolerance you have to deal with.
Yeah.
When like, and it's funny because I was talking to one of my old students about this, who is writing her their thesis on these horizontal relationships, on friendship, on like the loss of these sort of these cultural norms, and saying like, yeah, a lot of people like really do wish something like monogamy wasn't so, not necessarily in the sense of like just that
All
being the same
encompassing.
thing, right? Yeah, but they are uncomfortable with how rigid monogamy is, in the fact you have to find all your needs from one partner. They really
Yeah.
did wish, like, AKA, they wish they could give, they felt they had to give less in their relationships so that they could give more in their romantic relationships, so they could give more in their platonic relationships. Of course,
Mhm.
the weird thing being here is like, you could just do that, right? You could like just be good to all the people that you care about in
Right.
like equaling amounts, and like, I don't think any party would be like, hey bro, I feel like I'm not really getting proper friend treatment out here. And I really don't think, and in no way, I don't think, people, I don't think a good partner would say either like, bro, I feel like you're treating your friends the same way you treat me, if you're treating your
Yeah.
friends well, right?
Sure.
Like, I think that, and that's what we're all scared of, right? This idea of like, I'm getting away, but actually, I'm not getting away from my point,
I think I
because
can
this is
tie it
why.
back. Just
Thank
land
you,
it and
because
I'll bring it back.
right, because this is where AI fills in the hole. People don't know how to voice their support, and so they go to someone who will never tell them no.
Right. And it's interesting because I think like your point about like our slash younger generations being kind of cooked like friendship. Um, I feel like the beginning of it was us like internalizing that no one owes us anything. No, sorry, that we don't owe anyone anything, right? That's what everybody going to therapy did and like therapy pop culture. and stuff, like you're valid. Like it was kind of the OG sycophantic ChatGPT to a degree, like
Sponsored by
whatever
BetterHelp.
that like online of our era phenomenon that we internalized to like some degree, right?
Mm.
At least I, I'm largely talking about myself and projecting. Um, but maybe then that became because we benefited from not from like convincing ourselves that we don't owe anybody anything. We, as a downstream result of that, we don't believe anybody owes us anything.
Yes,
You
I do
know,
think about that
and so
sometimes. Now I'm projecting.
right, like that's like my friend who felt bad asking me for a thing that is what you talk about your friends to, you know. um like, I could be like, oh no, this conversation is emotionally draining and I only have so much capacity and blah blah blah, and maybe there's a time and a place for that kind of uh rejection of a bid to like connect or like seek solace emotionally. But like, 99 times out of 100, maybe, whatever, I'm making up numbers for my ass, like I'm gonna be able to hold that for you, right? And like similarly, most of the time other people will for you, assuming they're your friends, right? But I totally relate to the sense of like I can't ask people for things that would inconvenience them, even kind of on some level knowing fully well that they would be so happy to, partially because I know them and partially because I know I would be happy to in their position. Um,
I literally
this is
had
kind
to
of,
like talk myself up to before we had this call. I called my friend because I'm
yeah,
having a birthday party on Saturday and I
yeah,
wanted someone to take pictures because I am in no pictures with like
yeah,
any of my family, with most of my friends. I am the photographer for a lot of things. And I
yeah,
was like, oh, like, is it cool if like maybe I'll buy the disposable camera for him and then ask him like if he minds taking the pictures. And then I was
yeah,
like, yo, what am I doing? This is like my best friend,
yeah,
bro. Can you take pictures? He was like,
yeah,
5 seconds, of course, King.
yeah, of
Like
course.
it is sometimes crazy, and and we cook too. I say Gen Z, but like, hey, I'm also representing millennials here, but like, yeah, we're cooked through like 3 generations because like, yeah, when you internalize, I love what you just said. I love that you just said that. When you internalize that, uh, you don't owe anybody anything. You also have to internalize that no one owes you anything to remain rational. And when you don't think anybody owes you anything, even though you think you're being free and you're being ultimately rational or like the stoic whatever, you're also weakening the part of your muscle that enables you to have self-worth because you need the little part of yourself that says, wait, just because I am worthy of a certain standard. And like this is a really really hard thing to actually understand. It's hard to articulate too because it's like I don't think people understand until you have an arc in which you are more self confident. That like the engine by which people generate this confidence is through that like self love clause, that self worth clause. That like you can pack a lot of ideas into yourself into that space of like, well, because I am. And if you don't realize that part, and this is me partly talking to young Tayo, partly talking to maybe somebody that needs to hear this, right? That like once you understand that like the confidence in which you seek is literally based on the story you can tell within yourself into that self-worth box, that's your true confidence right there. Right? Like the externalizing is because you think your own self-worth story isn't enough. And you think
Yeah,
that people that are more
right. Like
confident
the
have a
judgments
better
people
self.
make about other people are their own like insecurities,
Right.
right?
And you'll only get there if you have a better story for yourself that disagrees
Yeah,
with their story. And no one tells
right.
you until you're older that you need to do that though. Like no one's gonna make it for you. You have to figure
Yeah.
that out. Yeah.
And I
Sorry.
do feel
Off
like
my pulpit.
my own sense of like self like deserving or self-worth has really developed hand in hand with an assumption of literally everybody's value as human beings. Like my self-worth doesn't come from my specialness. My self-worth comes from my sense of humanity's worth and me being a human. Um which you know, ties back to things in a clever way.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I
I
just
went
like
totally off.
blank.
But listen, nah, this is the empathy hour where we have
Yeah, no, it
feelings
does
raw
feel.
and uncut.
I mean,
Um,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like
I was
part
talking about
of
support needs though. I was talking about support
yeah,
needs.
yeah, no, we're talking about like interpersonal like relationships, and that is what AI is outsourcing for people.
Right.
Um, and it is interesting that I do think I think what people are appreciating about my video, to kind of like bring it full circle, maybe in the people who seem to think I'm doing something that they haven't seen done yet, is that I'm trying to kind of give a framework to interact with people given the AI world. Like I don't think I have the way to make these companies stop doing all the things they're doing. You know, like I gave like some general outline of like collective action because I want to point towards people towards the fact that that also exists, and that's like a very important part of like the current moment. But like there's a lot of other people who are talking about that already. There are a lot of other people you can go to for that. But the thing that I feel like I haven't seen, maybe the thing that made everything worth the reputational risk, to bring it back to that question, is like interpersonal relationships is part of my politics. Like I don't have any grand political belief that doesn't have an interpersonal corollary to it. And something I often examine my like beliefs for is consistency across scale.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um and I what I saw lacking in like left-leaning discourse about AI was any like indication that people knew how to engage with these issues on the interpersonal scale. Not
Hmm.
to say that that's the most important scale. Like I was talking to a friend who was kind of
I
criticizing
mean,
the video in that I should kind of keep the focus on the bigger scale. But
you don't get
we
nowhere
have
with
to
without the
exist with each other.
interpersonals. That's what I'm
Like
saying.
we
Like it
have
all starts with the person to person.
Right. Like we are going to be in the same spaces. We're going to work with people who have different feelings and different attitudes and different amounts of use of this. We're going to be their neighbors, we're going to be in their families. It's among us, right? Um
Like
and
no, like word to Troy Bolton, and also
right,
word to Troy Bolton. We're all in this together. And can I just cut you off just to access like this last question on the topic because
please.
I think you're about to answer it. Or
Yeah.
I'll give you a good long pack. Because this is ultimately why we're here. Like the true reason why, and to your point of what you said about other commenters, yeah, I do feel the utility or what I see the value. One of the values of the video is that it did give me a way to talk about how I would like other people to talk and interact with, or how I can talk to people in my life that I know
Exactly. Exactly.
aren't
That is
into like don't want to be into the AI thing in a way that allows me to feel like I can make some progress and I'm not just we're not two brick walls talking at one another. So like
exactly.
how best can we talk to friends on both aisles of the
Yeah.
AI sort of
Okay.
aisle?
Yeah. Um I mean, I think the aisle that I was more focused on in the video was how the anti AI crowd can engage with the AI crowd, right?
Mm,
And I think something kind of bringing it back to the harm reduction stuff. Like you said, this kind of big principle is meeting people where they're at. Um, and something Devin said when I interviewed him was like, you kind of have to just believe people when they say they need it for something.
mm-hmm,
You can
mm-hmm.
disagree, they could objectively be wrong, but people engage in behaviors in response to their needs. So whether or not they're like interpreting it and like fulfilling it in the way that is most like healthy for them and safe in general, um, that is what they're doing. And if you can't on some level accept where people are at, it's really hard to get anywhere else. Like something about harm reduction, I think, like another conversation I had with a friend who like was unsure of some things I was saying in the video, was like, well, aren't okay, you can get on board with like some of the more extreme cases where somebody's in a really desperate situation and using AI in this way. But like some people are just using it for stupid bullshit. And like, we shouldn't extend all this sympathy to them because they're just making stupid pictures or something. But I
Shame
think
does not work.
actually this whole framework does require truly conceding that people are the best in the best positions to make judgments about themselves. Basically,
True.
respecting human agency. Like, as much as I want to think, okay, well, maybe, and I made a point of not saying like these are places where you can justify using AI, but these aren't because I'm not in a position to make that judgment for anybody else, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of one of the hard things about speaking to somebody who uses AI in a way you don't like agree with is you think you're right and they're wrong, and the goal of the conversation is to bring them closer to where you are. Um, but I I think unless you assume or like accept a person where they're at, it doesn't work. Like the harm reduction doesn't only work when you seek out the most desperate addicts. It's when you make the resources available to anyone who seeks them out, right? Like it's
Mhm.
not part of the process to determine who is worth empathy. Um,
And like when I hear you say that, I'm like, this applies to so much more
yeah,
on the left than AI, right? This is kind of like this. I think I'm very interested in this discussion because it seems like a perfect microcosm for just what we're dealing with right now in the progressive tent. Very big scare quotes on that
yeah,
in the sense of like radical acceptance. Like it honestly is the first step into getting a person on your side, right? We're always
yeah,
talking about like what's wrong with with messaging on the left. Like we all know what our problem is. Our problem is that like we're we're right. We're kind of right, and we kind of like want to be known as right, and we want you to say that it's right the way that we're doing it. And I'm oversimplifying a lot for just to keep the character count low, but we don't want to admit that possibly the solution to our problem is meeting a person where they're at
yeah,
and like truly conceding that a person is where they're at because they're where they're at. And like we can't there's not a lot of utility in talking about what brought them there, who like why they should or should not be wherever they're at. The only thing
yeah.
the only thing that's useful at this point is understanding, and then using that to bring them towards an outcome that's better for everyone.
Yeah, I
But
have a
that
thought
takes
on
yeah,
side thought
go
on
for it.
that, and then I want to bring it back to the thing we're actually
Okay.
talking about. Something
Mhm.
I got some comments about read the we shouldn't shame people point was being like, well, can't what's stopping you from making this argument about like racists or transphobes or whatever kind of bigot or Trump supporters or Nazis or whatever, right? Like, are you
Mhm.
saying we should just like be nice to them and like it's wrong to say they're wrong for doing these things that are like obviously like immoral or like harmful to people? And it's like, well, first of all, on the one hand, I'm not saying that any of us are obligated to, but even in those cases, meeting people where they're at is going to be a more effective of change way of changing people's minds. I'm not saying that should be your goal, but I do think that does it is in a way true. That doesn't mean they deserve it. That doesn't mean it should be anybody's priority. But
It
like
still solves. It still gets you
it is
to the
it
outcome you
is
want.
true,
Yeah.
right? Like it is if your goal was to change the hearts and minds of Nazis, not saying that should be anyone's goal, but if it was, meeting them where they're at and kind of not being judgmental would probably be the first step in doing that. But I think even more than that, like this situation isn't comparable because people like I think like when it comes to Nazis and stuff, we how do I say this?
Not right. Not to be like not all AIs are fascists, but
Right. I mean like I feel like something about the trying to change hearts and minds of people who are like too far gone, being ineffective, and therefore the AI empathy is also ineffective
it's quite
is
defeatist.
different because it's like bigotry is directed at like people, like specifically, like it exists. Like part of it is like hatred and like a lack of empathy for certain kinds of people. So like, yeah, I would never be like to a black person, I'm like, you should just try to meet the racists where they're at, Tayo. Like the white supremacists are people too. Like that's not these are
Even the
not the
KKK
same
was
thing,
heaven sent.
right? These are not like a comparable situation whatsoever. And I might
Exactly.
even say like the also white cousin of the white supremacist should be making an effort, to like be, you know, speaking to their relatives in a way that might prod them to behave differently.
Exactly. Yeah.
um but like people using AI aren't using AI because they want the people who are hurt by AI to be hurt by AI, right?
Right.
Like using AI isn't comparable to being a bigot. It's comparable to using Amazon or using Google products or buying fast fashion made in sweatshops or a lot of other technology that has like conflict minerals in it. Like
Right.
there is a core like analogous situations of like this kind of moral position, and it's not bigotry.
It's
Like
not.
that.
You know what it is, and like what's gonna piss off a lot of people, probably on both sides, honestly.
What's that?
And
That we're
because I
doing this on
said,
YouTube, and
yeah,
YouTube is
all
Google, and Google is evil,
all
so we're all evil.
also that, but here's the real question that's gonna piss everybody off, because I was wrong earlier in the episode. I was asking like, is AI guns? Like, no, the question is not, is AI guns, is anti AI veganism the veganism of tech?
Oh, right. That
Right? Is
was.
anti AI the
I
new
do think there are
veganism?
a lot of. I have actually, like, even very recently, just a few days ago, saw a post by a vegan being like, listen, if we want to be effective, we got to change our messaging, because insisting that everybody be 100% vegan isn't effective for a lot of the same reasons. But you can teach people how to eat less meat and give like support in that. And that's a much more attainable thing. And that's something a lot more people will be willing to do. And if they think that's worthwhile, as opposed to not thinking it's worthwhile because people are either like 100% vegan or don't even bother, like it's it's harm reduction for like, not
Your
the
footprint.
goal of not eating animals, right? For whatever reason, whether it's ethics or climate or
Right.
whatever, because there are
We
different
honestly, we
reasons.
probably could
People,
learn a
I,
lot from them. Yeah.
as I found in the comments in response to that point in the video, because I do bring up vegans as an example of like, not to say all vegans are like this, but a lot of people really don't like the concept of vegans because they don't like being made to feel that they're doing the wrong thing by some impression they've gotten of a vegan being like, oh, you're bad for not also being vegan. And like sometimes that is more like developed out of projection than literally somebody telling them. But I think both things happen. Like
No,
I within
it's
the
still a
last
real
month
feeling. Yeah.
have had somebody tell me that I should be vegan, and I'm not vegan, but I actually aspire to be. I don't know that I'll ever get there, but over the course of many years, I've eaten less and less and less animal products to the point of it being a pretty like small part of my diet. And like some people, in fact, some people said in the comments, like that doesn't matter. Like being 90% vegan is like being 90% against genocide or something,
And this is
something
what
like
I'm
that,
talking
right?
about. Going back to the
And it's
guns.
like
Don't do this
literally
again.
less is better than nothing. Like if one person not eating any animal products is a good thing, then two people eating half the amount of animal products is literally mathematically the exact amount of good, right? Like
Right.
I saw this post
One would even
somewhere that
say
somebody's
better because
like we should be able to encourage people, like it was like my friend doesn't want to be vegan because of how much they like bacon. So I told them just be vegan except for bacon.
I've seen
And
that
it's like
before, which was
literally, like
that.
literally, you don't.
I
Doing
was
some
like,
of it
it's
is
all made
better.
up, but just
It's not
like,
good as doing it perfectly, sure, but it's better than not doing it at all. And the barrier to entry to not doing it to doing something good imperfectly is lower than the barrier to entry of doing something good perfectly. Um, and so I feel like in that way, it does actually have a very like useful like comparison.
mhm.
Um, oh, what
Especially
was
in
I
the
just
way
gonna
that
say?
like, I don't want to kill your thought, but like
No, please.
the reason why like it makes me giggle to think about, but also like I guess I mean it in a serious way, is that veganism is just like with climate change, right? Is this type of problem where it it has to be the most frustrating kind of problem because like there's are bunch of reasons to reach one conclusion and then like a few reasons to not reach that conclusion, and the
Hmm.
biggest one being like human will and like habit, and so we do the other option. But I say to say like one of the first groups I joined when I went to university was ecoterps, which was our
Like,
environmentalist
because you went
like
to
club,
UMB. I remember Ego
right?
Terps.
Right, and like I felt their frustration in being like, isn't it crazy? Mind you, I was a naive 18-year-old, so I thought it was going to be easier on a college campus, but like it was hard to get people to care about the environment even though we all had to see an inconvenient truth, even
Yeah,
though they was telling us about how the dolphins be dying. Right, it like
yeah.
it kind of is embarrassing how much you have to think about how to argue the world is burning to get people to care. But here's the thing,
Mhm.
and I go back to vegans as well, right? Here's but we exist in a reality, right? We exist in a reality in which that marketing is not giving us the change that you want. And so people that have like adapted and figured out what does work for people to actually get them to want to change are seeing the most success, which is where you get, okay, just be vegan but with bacon,
Yeah.
right? Which sure might seem nonsensical, but which might seem counterproductive, counterintuitive. But when we think
But
about harm reductions, we want
it's
the goal of
better.
just people eating less meat. It's
Yeah.
better.
I feel
So
like I wonder if this is like an uncharitable people of take of people who do the shaming, but I really do feel like, I talked about kind of part of the reasons why people shame in the video as well. And it ultimately comes down to it's a way to try to feel safe about a situation that you don't have control over, right?
mm,
Which makes a lot of sense. It's easier to get mad at
sure.
somebody than it is to stop an industry, right? So it's like, what is the goal of politics for you? Is the goal of politics to have the opinion that hypothetically would be the most correct and like result in utopia? Or do you want to help people like who are alive in the world now and suffering in the world now in an amount that is within your capacity? Like I feel like with like militant vegans who will be infinitely reducing their bubble of what is acceptable things to like consume just like more and more in ways that even like alienate other vegans or whatever.
Mm,
Like it, I feel like at a certain point you have to concede that uh, like too extreme an opinion puts you in a position where you have absolutely no impact on the world, if that makes sense.
right.
Um,
Strategy.
and I feel like this sounds like, oh well, this is why you should be a moderate or something like that, and it's not that. It's
We're just
that
saying think. Just pick your battles also sounds crazy, but like
right. Like I do know some people who I've met who I feel like are like too who are kind of like radical in their beliefs to a point that they're so isolated from society because they refuse to engage with anything problematic, where it's less just like you'd have no influence on anyone anymore. And not like you're in a position of power, but like you will just never interface with anyone who you will change anything about the life of.
are
And
you
you
cool with
will,
that? I get the question, right? Are
yeah,
you cool with that?
which like, maybe some people are, but like when I think about why I care about politics is because I want to help people.
Mm,
Pure and simple. It's not because I want the communist revolution. It's not because I like want, I don't know, to have been right about how things should be organized. It's that while I am around, I want to do things that improve the lives of other people, especially people who suffer the most, right?
I, mm,
And if halfway will allow me to do something that improves people's lives, whereas like insisting on 100% just won't work, I'm going to do the halfway because I'd rather help someone than be right. Like, and I do wonder how much, and it's, I'm not saying that people who like shame about AI just care about being right. I do think part of it is like an insistence on like what's the most right, but I think it does kind of come back to that idea of like the misconception, in a way that's kind of understandable, of that being right will make you safe, that if you
Mm-hmm.
have the right
Mm-hmm.
opinion, that if you know the right way that hypothetically would solve the problem, that that has almost any bearing at all on what will actually happen,
Right.
because ideas are one thing and ideals are one thing, and then there is the state of the world, and I can't have politics that doesn't give me as a person interacting with other people um a way to engage with the world as it is.
I don't know, Fatima. You said you don't care about being right. Are
I
you
mean, I
even a
do care about
leftist?
being
Are you
right.
even a leftist, bro? That's like the number
I care about
one
being right because I'm a
job. Like
physicist, not because I'm a leftist.
I'm screaming. Like I think they need. I think they need to change. I think they need to change that quote. I forgot who said it, but it's like someone's like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And like people are
Yeah,
still going to be smug about that and be like, I want to be right. Why can't I be right and happy? And I'm like, no, 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 no. Once again, you guys with your black and white thinking, we forgot to take our meds again. It's okay, but what the real quote is: do you want to be 100% right all the time, or do you want to be happy? I think
yeah,
you're a crazy person if you say you would rather be 100% right about everything
yeah,
or be happy. I like
yeah.
because that's what we're saying, right? Like sometimes you just gotta you, you don't know what type of right you are. There, like I forgot who did this, but like there's like seven to type like there's like eight different ways we get knowledge.
Huh.
Sure you might be right epistemologically, you might be right logically. You might be right
Yeah.
scientifically, but you might not be
Are
right
you right
emotionally.
emotionally?
Right, you
Yeah.
might
Not
not be right philosophically, and maybe that's what the other person's getting mad about. And
yeah.
it's like it does take a higher level order of thinking, like an extra beat to want to frame your life that way. But it
Yeah.
once again counterintuitive, but like it yields better results for you in the
Yeah.
long term because I think you have a better grasp on your own reality.
Yeah.
Um,
So kind of trying to
yeah,
tie that back to a question that I said I was going to get back to about talking to your friends from both sides of the aisle and how to do
please.
that.
Hmm.
Coming back to the perspective of the person who is scared of AI, talking to somebody who likes or uses AI, beyond accepting where they're at, I think the big takeaway I got from talking to Devin, and this is kind of how I approach a lot of things, is like approach with curiosity. Like if you have a friend who uses AI for a lot of stuff, if they're addicted to it, if they're using it in whatever problematic way, if they're frivolous about it, I don't know. Don't convince them of a point. Try to understand them. Like, why are you using it in this way? Why are you using it as a therapist instead of going to a real therapist? What are you getting out of it? How does it make you feel? Like trying to get at why they are seeking, not trying to convince them that they're wrong for seeking it, but trying to understand legitimately why that is what they're doing and why they're not doing anything else, is the thing that can give you an in as to like, not again like what I said before, part of it just has to be accepting where people are at. Like you can't see an interaction only as successful if you convince them to stop using LLMs or whatever. Like you have to concede that that's can be not an outcome. But the best that you can do, I think, is a give them information based on these things they tell you that can make them more safe. Like I've often been like, oh well, have you thought of using this LLM instead of ChatGPT? Like, because this company is particularly egregious, and it's like if you're going to use it, at least use this less egregious one, right? um or telling them about an experience I had where I kind of fell into like the addiction trap and I was using it and it made me want to isolate, and being like, "Oh, I had this experience with it." And like I hope you don't feel like you're falling into that kind of situation. Like giving information, but beyond giving information, asking questions and understanding like where they're at can help you provide, like fulfill their need or help
Hmm.
them fulfill their need elsewhere. right?
You
Like,
can solve the problem without preaching, basically, right?
right.
Or like or
Like,
proselytizing, maybe.
maybe you find out that they're using it in a way that could be solved by some tool you know about, like if they use it in a productivity sense and you're like, oh, why don't you just use this thing instead? Or maybe they'll tell you that they've been feeling isolated and you can like reach out to them more. um like you can support, and this is like kind of coming back to the harm reduction thing, respecting where they are and using information and resources that you have available to you to support their well-being, not their rejection of it, but their well-being. um and I guess I'm trying to think how I would answer this question in the reverse. Like, how would somebody who's really into AI talk to their how should that person talk to their friend who's very anti AI? This is interesting. I've not thought about
No,
this.
I actually meant like a person in the middle talking to extremes on both sides.
I do have
To
an idea of it though.
oh, please, okay,
Oh,
sure.
but I can also answer what you're saying as the other side. Like how sh
Like yeah, yeah, go for it. I
well,
assumed it was just
I
gonna
was
be
gonna say if
like the
you're
same on both sides, but hey,
I mean, I
advocate for that
think
devil.
I don't think it's devil's I don't think what I'm doing is devil's advocating. I was gonna say, like, for people who are like really into AI and are like, why are people so up in arms in it? Like, also being curious as to why people are scared of it, because there are a lot of really good reasons people are scared of it. That doesn't mean they're taking out their fear in the proper place. That doesn't mean they're like expressing their concerns in a way that is productive or even like not counterproductive. But I think trying to understand that your anti AI friends are terrified is maybe like a helpful perspective on like understanding how to talk to them. I don't know who in your audience is going to be the one who needs that piece of advice, but it did come to mind as being maybe something we're saying. And then back to kind of how you were framing it as somebody in the middle talking to both sides. So, like, how would I talk to my more aggressively anti AI friends? Is that the other side of it?
Yeah, you know what my true fear is. No matter what your
What?
response is, no matter what
What?
you no matter what you say them, they're just gonna put it into they're gonna put it into their LLM and be like, so how should I respond to this?
Oh my gosh. Wait, I
All
thought
right,
we're talking about
what's
the
up?
very anti AI person.
Well,
How do you talk to the very.
I thought you already did the very anti AI person. You were going to the very strongly AI person.
No, I did the person who was using AI,
Oh, you're
and
so
then I
right. You're
did.
so right. You're so right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Well,
Actually,
that's
you're so yeah, yeah. So yeah,
um,
you are right. That's not a devil's advocate, but it is a challenge nonetheless. I have a name that I want to use, but I'm not going to use
yeah. No, I know. I know.
it.
That's what I'm thinking about. Um I think maybe the thing I would say to that direction is I would talk about my own experiences talking to people, because it's really hard to know for sure how things will go online. Like, talking about AI discourse on the internet is so difficult, because while I can describe all these dynamics that we've um, discussed, like you can find all that online, it also exists just like in my life. Like, everything I've talked about happens somewhere in my life. Like, none of what I have to say about this is based entirely on how the internet's playing off of. I think the internet and people in my real life are kind of mirroring each other to a large degree. Um, and I feel like there's just something so unavoidable about the fact that I can just be like, I can't control my friend or coworker or like family member or any of the people in my life who are using AI, but I can tell that they're willing to talk to me about it because of the way I'm approaching the situation. And I can tell that they're curious to learn more and that they're worried about the like the harms of what they're doing. Like, if there's something else that I learned in the comment section of my videos, is that there's a lot of people who are using AI in some case who like don't want to and hate the fact that they're using it. Like that's not a group I thought too much about before.
Mm,
Like
mm.
for example, people who use it in their jobs because they have to, because they're required to use it in their jobs, but also people who are just like, this is just too useful, it has saved me too much time, like I'm so overworked, and I like am really like feeling so much shame just from myself and really struggling
I
with
run into
this.
students that
And
say
like,
that actually say that a lot more than you think. Like
yeah,
they also see it as straight time calculation. They're like, I don't
yeah.
like that I do this.
And it's like those people want to know how to make it not as bad. Like those people would generally love to know how to like reduce the environmental impact of their AI. Those people want to know how to use it more safely. Um like I think there's an idea, like there's a way of interpreting my video where it's like this is how you should talk to the most obnoxious like AI bros. Like I feel like the most egregious example of this is
This is
like
how you dunk on the tech
the pro
bros.
the pro AI subreddit is like the most infuriating thing. Like the level of victimization of people who are making arguments for AI art is like is so absurd and so frustrating.
You
And
want to
wow,
talk about
I
outside of the
cannot
scope?
engage with it.
Exactly.
Right. But like that's not most people. Like that's kind of a straw man when you're talking about most people who use AI. Most people aren't gleefully using it. Most
Mm-hmm.
people know about the harm and most people are really conflicted and most people want to do better. Um and that is like being able to engage with that group of people is like a politically very important thing in this moment
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like lines are getting drawn socially in ways that are not conducive for the success of any kind of AI movement or anti-AI movement. Um, and yeah, that's just have I made a cohesive point here? I don't know.
You have, and I feel like we've had a um, AI has analyzed this conversation as having a 96.5% coherentness score. You know what's great?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. It's at the end of the episode anyway. Like you know, as no one will point out in the comments, my hair looks a tad bit different. And while I was getting my hair done yesterday, like they were playing like Amazon Prime movies on the big screen the entire time, which is on a loop. And so
Uh-huh.
I had to watch two. I watched two Amazon Prime movies in a row. And the second one I watched was this movie called Mercy. I don't know if anyone knows what this is. It had one of the Chris's in it, the one we don't like, not the one we don't like. I should
Oh,
stop doing
the
that.
Christian one?
The Pratt Brat.
Yeah, I got an ad from him. It was like him saying, "Let's pray together" on that app that like Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton made or something. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe it's a different prayer app. No shade to Christians.
Right,
Religion's
exactly. No
fine.
shade to Christians.
But
I
that
love
was
me a good
weird.
prayer, but that's crazy, bro. That's a little crazy. But anyway,
It was
like the
wild.
entire movie was literally a 90-minute plot in which a guy wakes up and is being tried by AI court.
Huh.
Like that's it. That's it. And then we find out whether or not he did it. It's a very
Yeah.
extended Black Mirror episode without any of the sauce.
Yeah.
But that was random because I watched that and like it's so I don't see a lot of 2-star movies. Right, I don't
Mm.
go. I don't like you when you go see something. There's so much hype. It's either gonna be a 4 or 5 because of the hype, or you're watching it
Yeah.
because it's bad. It's gonna be a 1
Unless
or an 8
it's
watch.
what was that movie that had the wild reviews? The one about cannibals, bones and all. That had the wildest distribution of reviews. It was all either 1 star or 5 stars. It was completely bimodal.
Critics versus fans, typical.
I'd never seen anything like that.
You know what? Just because we ended up a bit on a downer with that last question, even though I don't know where I thought that was going to end up, knowing I asked the question, uh,
Right.
I still like to end on a little bit positive. So I do want to know personally.
Wait, can I say
Uh,
one positive thing about the AI thing to conclude it on a positiver note that is
please,
relevant to the last thing I was saying? I
yeah,
will
go for it.
say I have talked to dozens of people about AI in the months leading up to making this video in my life. And for those people who use them, use LLMs, I say this in the video, have almost always walked away from the conversation I've had in which I did not make any judgment about them, in which I at no point said they shouldn't use AI. They always walked away from that conversation with some way to reduce harm at least a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's
Mm-hmm.
they're going to try using it in a different way, or they're going to use a different platform, or they're like questioning the context they're using it in to begin with. Like, that has always been the case from every person I've talked to who uses AI. Everybody wants to know the information that I have, and like is receptive to hearing it, and has been receptive to hearing it from me approaching things like this.
Right. And so, like, no pun intended, but it would be a shame if that information was being like internally gate kept by other people's hesitancy to want to be open with people in their lives about something they actually use.
Yeah.
But thank you, Dr. Fatima. This has been such a great conversation. I
Yeah, we've
can't
been
wait to see what
cooking
the
for
comments.
hours.
Right, like, which I knew because whenever we start to get to the chat and like
It's true.
we get chatty.
We're probably going to keep talking
Uh,
after this.
do we 100% we'll keep talking after this. Um, I because you have the flower mic. I've never done this before, but like, do would you like to do the sign off?
Oh, really? What about what's making you smile this week?
Huh? To be honest, we were going long. So,
Yeah.
to be honest, we were going long, and I was like, do we still want to do this? Because we're still about to talk after this. But honestly, bro, because you brought it up, we're snapping back in.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god, you're so right. No. Oh my
I'm
god,
sorry.
you're so right.
Wow, you're such a performer. I'm impressed.
Right, I planned that in
Uh-huh.
the script. Uh, because I really do care about us still ending off on the happiest note, on the most empathetic note. I was wondering what is making you smile this week.
I feel like it's a cheap shot to say that the positive response to my video is making me smile.
That's not cheap at all.
I
We're
will be
always
more
grateful for that.
I will be a little bit less literally about the AI conversation with it. While, yes, something that is making me smile is a lot of people really appreciating the effort and vulnerability I put into that, and sharing similarly vulnerable stories that really make me feel like I'm reaching people and having an effect that I want to have. Like, that certainly makes me smile a lot. But also, I like just like off the cuff spoke a little bit of Spanish in the middle of my video, and we were talking about me learning Spanish earlier at the top of this, like 3 hours ago. Um, and like just like a sentence for some reason. And when I was editing it, I'm like, huh, that's kind of cute. I'll leave it in. And I like wrote on the screen, like, who would watch like Dr. Fatima videos in Spanish? And everybody was so nice about it. Like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're speaking so well. You have such a good accent. Please make videos in Spanish. That'd be so cute. We learn so much. And it actually kind of happened on stream yesterday too. Like, I think somebody asked me because of that if I speak Spanish, and so I like tried to speak just a teeny tiny bit on stream, and everybody was just so nice and supportive and enthusiastic, and I it makes me smile a lot.
I love that so much for you. Genial. Genial. Indeed.
Genial.
Uh,
Sí.
I, I'm going to steal that now because I'm not going to lie. I did not have a good one. I did not have a good one set up, which is why
You held the
I almost forgot the
question.
questions. I know, right? What's good about these questions is that it forces me to be present because I go in cold and I'm just like, you know what? This is going to make me reflect on how shitty my life. I'm kidding. No, but what's actually making me smile this week, to piggyback on what your thing is that technically next week, but on early next week, I'm gonna be going to a socialist Spanish club
Ooh,
to practice my Spanish
hell
because
yeah.
I do like I'm very lucky. Like whenever you talk about it, I do find myself very lucky that I spent a very big portion of my early school life learning Spanish. Like I took Spanish every day for 7 years because that was like my
Damn.
concentration in my
Yeah.
middle and high school. And so like I definitely got some like a bump in my brain, some places like storing Spanish So I feel always comfortable reading it. Even when I was taking it every day, I barely got a fucking 3 on AP Spanish. Like I had like
And
a week of like straight speaking and understanding, but like I don't want to take for granted, especially seeing where the world is going, like that I have access to us to, you know, two other languages, right? Both my home
yeah,
country and Spanish. But Spanish feels like I actually probably know more Spanish than I know Yoruba. So I'm like, let me get back in this bag. Like, you know, they
yeah,
already calling me Dominican. So like let me just
lean
let
in.
me
Hell yeah.
all
Puedes
right.
practicar conmigo entonces.
Ooh, I know what you said. You said we can practice together then, and
Yeah,
I just don't know how. I don't know how to respond. But we gonna get there. You gonna stamp
that's fine.
stamp this
Vamos
too.
a
Stamp
tiempo.
this too, chat. We gonna like what will feel impossible. Right in a year from now, we're gonna
And
come
we'll be
right back
shocked.
here.
We'll
Right,
be
we're gonna
shocked.
come
We'll
back
be
here
just
and
like
we're gonna have a whole
going off,
conversation in Spanish. Like
chismeando.
that. I love that.
Perfecto.
Talking about
Yeah.
but
Like,
boni,
oh, yeah.
I be okay. It is so fun. Thank you so much, Fatima. And would you like to sign us out?
I feel so bad because you're giving me this honor and I don't remember if I remember the whole sign off.
No, you only have five
Is it only the
words.
5 words?
It's
Isn't
only
there
the five
something leading up?
words.
There's nothing leading up to that. Isn't it like
I'm gonna point you in.
okay,
Let's call. We can do this. Deep
okay.
breath. Thank you for being with us. This has been the Empathy Hour.
And as always, be kind.
Let's go.
Hell yeah. Oh, wow. Thanks for letting me sign you off. I feel so special.